parents are very heavily in the ministry. I was just always been about servant leadership, but at the same time, I found it to be a little bit of a struggle to find my niche, right? Like I know I didn't want to serve like ministry the way they did. I didn't want to go into missions to do those things. So then you had to reevaluate life and think about what ministry would look like for me, whether that was overseeing an educational organization, whether that's coaching, whether, what aspect of it, how can I still help others? Is that working in the hospital and hospice care? Like, what does that look like for me? And I had a little bit of a hard time trying to understand what my calling was in that facet. But then you come to find out, it's like, man, ministry can, as I was saying, can look different in a lot of ways. Servant leadership is a thing, you can live out your ministry that way when you redirect your thoughts.
Welcome to Iron Summit, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming your best self, blending expert insights on strength training, smart recovery, optimal nutrition, and mindset mastery to help you elevate your game. Iron Summit is brought to you by Bridge Athletic. Looking for a way to streamline your training programs and deliver exceptional results? Check out our friends at Bridge Athletic. Their platform is packed with over 300 templates and 1,500 instructional videos, courtesy of subject matter experts like Exos, FMS, and Hyperice, making program design both efficient and impactful. Our listeners can take advantage of an exclusive offer. For a limited time, get your first 30 days free and your next month at 50% off when you use code IRONSUMMIT, all caps. That's code IRONSUMMIT, no spaces, all caps, for 30 days free plus 50% off your second month at bridgeathletic.com. Check it out and start assigning custom programs directly to your athlete's mobile device.
All right, we're live. Special episode with Dr. E, Mr. Gains or Gains. He's
Yes,
a
sir.
senior Greco national team member and college wrestling at California Baptist. He was gosh, dude, I can never say these intros. Cornell RTC
Ryan really struggles
athlete
during the intro.
for a long Cornell RTC athlete for a long time. Coached together at Stanford. He's currently coaching at University of North Carolina. You have your PhD in education leadership and a master's in special education. Dr. E, what's up, man? How's it going?
Man, it's going well. It's good to be here. I'm enjoying the company, man. You got some great guys doing some special things in the world, so I'm excited to participate.
Dude, I love the fit today. Did you dress up for us?
Well, it's funny thing about it. I don't know that I did it for the podcast, but we got into the year and I wasn't as consistent, right? Like when I get up and I put on the fresh fit and stuff like that, I found myself doing that like more so half the week. I was doing that half the week, and when I get up and look my best and do that type of stuff, I find that I'm more productive. I just get more done, and it's just like my whole thought process just changes when I leave the door. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start waking up 30 to 40 minutes earlier just so I can pick a fresh hit and do my thing every day, So that's been more of the thing, and I've been pretty consistent with it this year. I think I've been 100% with going 5 for 5 Monday through Friday throughout the week. So I've been good about it.
That's good.
Feel good, perform good. That's what we say.
And the wrestlers, when they see me in the team lounge or I show up, they're like, man, the drip, coach, the drip. So, you get a little love. It's all good.
You're dressing up for the wrestlers. I gotcha.
The love of the game. I dress up for the love of the game.
E, I want to start from the beginning, man. Can you talk a little bit when you came over to the U.S. and like how your transition was when you came over here and like growing up early on in Florida? And like how did that happen? How was that transition for you, and how did that kind of start, your life?
Well, so to start it off, I was born in Miami, Florida, and my father, who's a pastor, he was in Haiti with my eldest sister and older brother. So it was 3 of us. And so when my mom had me in Miami, she was working a lot. She didn't want to leave me in daycare, so then she moved me to Haiti with my father, and I lived with him and my siblings there until I was about 7 years old. So then I flew back to the States with my mom and into West Palm Beach, Florida, and then I started school in third grade. But funny thing is, I grew up in Haiti. You know, the main sport, most international wise, the most popular sport is soccer, right? So
Yeah.
in Haiti, I grew up playing soccer, man. We were kicking everything we could find, man, and that's how it was. And I remember being in third, fourth grade, weighing 80 something pounds playing soccer, and I get into middle school, got to middle school, and I'm still weighing well under 100 pounds, playing soccer. And I think I went to a summer thing. I think end of my eighth grade, going into ninth grade, I went into the high school and they were for a little wrestling. It was just a wrestling camp, a summer wrestling camp, a commuter camp at that, because I'd done wrestling intramurals in eighth grade just for about 2 months. You know, I'd come in and roll around. I'm like, and at first I thought it was WWE, man. I thought like they had stuff set up. I figured we are gonna do real cool things. I get in there. It's a wrestling mat. Is this little old dude who I love dearly and still talk to. Is a big part of my life, Coach Mike Chestnut, and he's teaching like stance motion, double legs to halves, and I'm like, man, what is this stupid stuff, right? And honestly, I wanted to walk out there and quit because they didn't have like a ring, turnbuckles. We're not jumping on nothing.
You
I'm
want a
like,
mask
right?
and
Yeah.
tights.
I'm like, this looks stupid. I'm not doing this. But my whole thing is, I've always been that way. Even when I was younger, I was like, well, I came to this intramural thing. It's only 8 weeks, so I'm not gonna quit. I'm not gonna quit. And you know, they had T-shirts and medals for us at the end, so I was like, I gotta get this medal and T-shirt. So, so I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I did intramural, and then little old dude who was coaching us, Coach Mike, he liked me a lot. He was like, hey, I want you to come to this summer camp at the high school. I'll pay for everything for you. You know, just come and you can see blah blah blah. So I go to high school. Now I see these dudes like doing pull-ups and lifting weights, and these dudes got muscles. Now I'm coming in that sucker weighing about 88 pounds. So I'm like, dang, I'm fast, I'm quick, but like these dudes are huge. So then I said to myself, well, shoot, man, I want to get some muscles. So I asked the coach, I'm like, well, what do I got to do to get muscles like these dudes? Well, I just join the wrestling team. That's why I brought you here, and you did a good job with intramurals. You know, you come and see how you like it. And yeah, he suckered me in with my vanity. That's what got me early on with my vanity.
Sucker.
You know, yeah, he
That's
got me.
awesome.
Yeah, he got me with my
We
vanity.
we have had yourself included. We have good wrestlers on this podcast all the time, and it's shocking how many joined thinking they were joining WWE. It's like 70% of them.
Right?
So,
I got
hey, the
suckered into
WWE
it,
is
man.
great for wrestling, man. It's like gets all these little kids into wrestling.
Dude, I'm like, man, we're gonna do walkout. It's gonna be crazy. And it
I'm
turned out to
gonna
be
jump
something
off chairs.
completely different, dude. So, and then high school, right, especially in Florida, um, soccer and wrestling was literally the exact same season. And so there was no separation. So I wasn't able to do both. I couldn't do both. And so once we started, mind you, like the dude had me already in the summer. That's how he tricked me. He had me in the summer lifting weights. So then by the end of summer, yo, like I had like I remembered I'd seen two little veins pop out on my arm. I had two little veins,
You're hooked.
and then I was able to do like 6 pull-ups. I said, "Oh snap! Like this is crazy. I don't know if I want to stop doing this, like, cause I'm starting to see stuff develop." And so soccer was at the same time, and I was really, really good at soccer. But then I made the decision. I'm like, like my vanity spoke to me more, being in the weight room. So I just stuck with that. And then long story short, like, with all these other experiences through college and such, but here we are. But that was my start from being born in Miami, growing up in Haiti, playing soccer, then coming in and getting pulled into wrestling.
So
Well,
Go ahead,
Well,
Max.
I just want to say this, like, I just want to let Enoch know there's way easier ways to be jacked than wrestling for your entire life.
right? I needed to know that. I'm like, man, I probably could have just kept playing soccer and doing the weight room thing.
Yeah.
He throws
Yeah.
some weights around though, but I've
Yeah, I
seen some
love
of
it.
your videos when you were bulking, when you're up at like 225, 230. But so what made you actually start enjoying wrestling? Because obviously, like, there's an initial spark here, which was awesome with kind of like getting workout and like seeing your body change and being young and um but like wrestling also sucks. So what made you decide to like, hey, I want to invest time in this and get good at it? Because you weren't just showing up for the workouts after, after a
Yeah.
little bit. It was like you actually enjoyed the sport. When did that
What?
change?
Two things, right? Two things with wrestling. It's for me personally, it's like I was saying earlier, the main reason I stayed out when I did intramurals in my eighth grade year is just like, all right, you stepped into it, yet you can't quit.
Yeah.
So part of it with high school is like, all right, he suckered me into it in the summertime, and I told him I was gonna do it. So it's like, all right, I'm into it now. I can't quit. Um, but the other part of it, I'd say when I first started, really started in ninth grade. Um, it was funny. I remembered winning my first JV match, like first ever match I wrestled was a JV match, and I won it. And it's like, dang man, that feeling, it felt really good, right? Like, you had the little tingles and the butterflies, and you go out there and one on one with somebody and you beat them, and you feel real good. And then afterwards, I lost nonstop, bro. Like I just kept losing. But the cool thing about it is, it's like that mentality is like, well, shoot, man, there's no one to blame it on, right? Because it's just you out there. It wasn't, and I've only ever played team sports before, so that one was just like, oh, that's cool. I get to be accountable. So then it's a matter of, and it was always weird for me because I started wrestling so late. It was always a matter of, well, yeah, you're a pretty great athlete. You're pretty fast. Like, so it's just a matter of how much work you're willing to put in to just figure it out. So to me, it was just always, all right, cool. I get to go figure this out. So every time I went to practice or tournament or whatever, like I got my butt kicked by a kid or whatever, it was just like the next time, how much closer can I get? Like how much can I work to just figure it out? So it was always more of a game and a challenge for myself to just, all right, I get to go figure this out. Where to this day, bro, to this day, feel like, oh, I get to go into training with these guys and figure this out because it's fun. It's just a fun, never-ending puzzle that you get to keep playing with and keep solving. And that's what I find with wrestling. And that's one of those things, when we talk of, even if we're talking about life skills, it's just like, dang, man, I just get to go figure this out. It's not a matter of, all right, I done got my butt kicked or I done failed. I did this, didn't accomplish this or that. It's just, all right, you get to get up again and go do it again because it ain't never over, right? So that was the cool thing about it that actually really kept me into it. It's just the first part is like that inert spirit where it's like, well, I started something, I'm not quitting. But the most important aspect of it is just continuous, never ending trials at it. Like it's like you just get to keep figuring it out, and that was the coolest thing about it.
So we just got to get you to commit to something and make sure it's hard, and then you won't quit. You'll just keep doing it.
And make sure there's a little bit of vanity in it.
A little bit of
So,
vanity.
Couple of bicep veins, and we're good.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So, but now, and actually, I've been saying this more to myself. Uh, Prior to committing to stuff, man, do a little more research and see how much it's gonna take out of me before I just keep telling people yes and doing things because it's like, all right, I already said I'm gonna do it, so I gotta do it.
That's
so when
awesome.
did you, so you obviously started to have some success in high school. When did you turn that corner? So I had a similar experience to you, Enoch. I started wrestling basically as a freshman in high school. So I totally get what you're saying with like, this is fun. I get to figure out something new. But I'm curious, like, when did you start to have success, turn that corner, beat the good guys?
It
When
was
did that
just,
happen?
yeah, more of a combination of a little bit of a growth spurt and stuff like that. Going probably middle of my junior year into my senior year. So I was younger. I graduated high school, I think 17. So now you see, guys still in prep schools and stuff like that, 20 going 21.
Yeah.
So no, it's just different. So And I look at that, I'm like, dang, man, like if I were in high school at the level I was at my third year of college, then yeah, sure, I'd be one of the top 50 in the country too, right? It's like, so it's a lot different ways to looking at it. But you know, from that standpoint where I was low water wrestling in the, you know, the quote unquote club supports or financial sports from parents, you know, you don't get that kind of exposure to go wrestle at all these big places and stuff like that. So everything's more local and statewide. But, you know, when I started beating better guys in the state and things like that, it was probably mid of my junior year. And then it's like, oh, dang, all right, I could be good at this. I'm figuring this out. And then senior year, you're like, okay, really engaging, getting to the weight cut, doing this, doing that. And so then, you know, after that, where I'm like, all right, man, I think I want to try this in college. Where then I went to an NAI school in Orange City, Iowa. And I remember getting there and I like absolutely grew. I was went to college weighing about 150, and the summer of my freshman year I was weighing 178. It just boom, and then I was a 74 pounder, and all of a sudden it was it was unreal because all of a sudden now I'm wrestling UNO, like all these other big tournaments and wrestling whatever recruits and best guys in the country, and you're dominating, beating those guys. And before I knew it, my freshman year in the NAI, I was ranked in the top 4 in the country. And then people would ask me, man, how many state titles did you win? How many of this did you do? And I'm looking at them laughing. I'm like, man, I never did any of that stuff, man. I just figured I was growing and getting stronger and getting better. So I should, and it was weird. My mentality, it was weird. Like I went to college thinking, and a lot of times it's like for me, for most people see it as backwards thinking. So that's why I say it's a little weird because I went to college thinking, well, I'm only supposed to get better. So everybody I'm just gonna catch and beat because I'm growing, I'm getting stronger, and I'm athletic. And so that was always my thought process. So college, it was like within the first semester I'm ranked top 4, and then the next years throughout, I'm just ranked number 1 in the NIA, where it was just consistent because in my head I was supposed to be that. Um, and that's where that competitive nature and drive is. And it was like, well, I'm supposed to be that, so I'm just gonna do it. As opposed to coming in or having doubts or questions and things like that, which might be different from somebody, let's say if they graduated at the top of their game, right? And then they met adversity later on, uh, then it would be like, oh, maybe I'm not as good as I once was type of thing. Where from my standpoint, I felt like I met a lot of the adversity early. So it was always a uphill climb. So as I'm climbing, I'm like, I'm just gonna keep climbing, see how high I can get until I want to be done with it, right? So that was always the next thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's sweet. I mean, it's such a, like wrestling. I think it's funny now you talk about all these good recruits coming out, but they're 20, 21. It's like they've kind of capped out a lot of their potential. And I think you realize at an early age, you're like, hey, I started this kind of later. I'm going to just keep catching these guys. So I
Uh-huh.
think it's such a good point too. Like, especially now you talk college coaching, you're looking at kids and you're like, hey, how much more potential does this kid have that's going to all these really good clubs all the time? And then they get into a college room. It's like, yeah, they got some upside. But you're trying to find the kid that's like pretty raw, that's doing well now, that's still got a lot of upside.
Yeah.
Um, how do you think about that in coaching now with UNC and obviously just the move over there? And you guys have already added a lot of amazing pieces to that puzzle. What do you guys what's next for you guys? How are you guys thinking about building that program and with the changing landscape of the NCAA right now?
Well, so I mentioned the changing landscape. It's been a whirlwind. I feel like every month, every month we have to basically reroute and change our whole thought process in recruiting and strategy and what we're doing and what we're bringing in. I think a couple months ago it started with the, you know, collective bargaining agreements and the roster cuts, right? And so then, you know, when you go from potentially having 40 to 45 of whoever you wanted, now you're saying, oh crap, we have to cap this out by this certain date at 30. Which for us, I believe it's November 1st, right? So of next year. So then if you're having to cap it out at 30, you got to imagine if we're already at 39 and you got some guys graduating, but then you're bringing in 10. It's like, all right, like somebody got, these guys all understand now they got to start up in their game and figure some things out. But then on the way we have.
At Iron Summit, we are about getting everything we can out of our workouts and everyday lives. If you aren't wearing a pair of barefoot or wide toe box trainers, you are leaving gains on the table. The Sashi Athletics Ronin Ichi Minimalist Trainer is the perfect barefoot shoe. Not only does it perform like other major brands on the market, it is actually good looking. Even my wife says so. Get a pair today for 10% off with the code IronSummit10. Link is in the bio.
To start recruiting now, as you kind of mentioned, it's like, all right, are we looking at the transfer portal a little closer? Because we only get 30 guys. So then as we rebuild, do we want to get 2 or 3 guys from a transfer portal and kind of fill the gaps? And similar to what you were saying earlier, now if you're still trying to recruit some guys on quote unquote potential, how many guys do you recruit off of potential? Because that could be hit or miss, right? So then you break down a small percentage to recruit guys off of potential, but absolutely we want to go after the quote unquote 5-star recruits too, so we can get 2, 3 of them that can come in and make an immediate impact, along with some of the guys we're bringing in from a transfer portal, along with some of the returners we got, and create this perfect mesh while we're still making sure they're the right guys mentally, physically, spiritually, where it's bringing in great team chemistry, and they're going to be great for the continued growth evolution of the institution. Like, so it's a fun mix, man. It's a fun puzzle. Whereas a lot of folks can look at that as like, wow, that's a crazy challenge. Where I think the way I think about those types of things when it's changing, how it does, it's like, dude, that's a fresh opportunity, man. Like, maybe the other way we're doing it was getting so easy where it was mundane. It's like, all right, man, I can do this in my sleep. Now it's like I gotta wake up and grind and
Challenge.
figure out. Yeah, it's a challenge, man. You figure out a new puzzle, and those are the things, like, I think in any facet of working environment, that really gets me excited. To where I'm not trying to look for another challenge or something new to do, because, like, dang, man, we just got hit with something else, so we got this to figure out. You got that, so it keeps things fresh. It keeps a great mental perspective on it. Just like you guys. Like, when you bring up, like, if we brought up COVID, like when that first hit, and how that changed the trajectory of everything we're doing, and we just had to, like, pivot and make things work and just figure it all out. And it was either sink or swim type of thing, right? Like, you either gonna figure this out or you ain't gonna make it. And when that hit us in the education world, as I'm running a special education department, it's like, golly, man, how you gotta provide services to kids remote and do what? Like, how you connecting all those dots, right? So those kinds of things, those quote unquote challenges, um, it helps us to just be innovative and become masters at our crafts, and cause you to think outside the box. It just brings the best out of you. So I've been enjoying it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So take
Yeah.
us for our listeners, what the collective bargaining agreement is and why they're capping rosters at 30.
Well, so the biggest thing about it is the finances and how those things have to move around, right? So when you have all your Olympic sports and you have your other revenue driven sports, whether that's football, basketball, some instances, maybe hockey, some instances, maybe field hockey, some instances, baseball, right? The bigger sports that actually bring real revenue, you have to understand and know that they're always going to get a bigger piece of that pie, right? Like, and respectfully so. Like, if you drive revenue, you should get your fair share of what's coming into the institution. So when you enter that, and they break, and the NCAA breaks those things down per institution, you just get a little bit of a trickle down effect with the Olympic sports. And my biggest concern with that when it first happened is like, wow, like, if all this stuff is moving towards these revenue driven sports, the big sports, doing their own thing and somehow breaking away, and you're looking at them more of like quote unquote professional sports now, right? With the amount of money that's going around in the contracts, what happens to Olympic sports? They just like kick those to the curb and say, oh, we don't need to keep supporting those anymore and things like that. So, my extremist view of thinking with that is like, dang, maybe we all just go away, or dang, maybe the trickle down effect, like so much revenue is flowing that the crumbs are just big magnitudes to us, and it more than sustains us. And I do feel like it's gonna be the latter of what happens. So I'm pretty excited for it moving forward, and game to kind of see what happens.
Yeah, and I get that there's a cost to having just people on the roster, and so then you got to cap it. But it is going to make the going and competing in college and wrestling so competitive, especially at the Division I level. I know that it was already before the collective bargaining agreement,
Yeah, from the
one of
COVID,
the lowest
COVID year, yeah,
or the lowest percentage of high school athletes that go Division I.
yeah,
Wrestling was near the lowest, like so meaning it's really, really competitive to get a Division I scholarship, and it's going to get even more competitive to get on a Division I team. Like to your point, you're going to have good wrestlers you're going to have to cut just because there's other good wrestlers coming in, and it's going to be a competitive landscape for sure.
yeah. It's almost that. It's almost not even feasible. It's like to get to the school you want just by being a top 100 pound for pound athlete. Uh, hey, but yeah,
Crazy.
man, try to see if you can get in the right weight class and crack the top 50 pound for pound now.
Yeah.
So it's just different, and especially with the JUCO rules coming out now, where JUCO doesn't count against you. We try to, and this is again such a nuance to the rules, right? What was that, a month ago? So now you're trying to educate parents and recruits to really think about going into a great JUCO, a good JUCO route, and spending 2 to 3 years there. Because now you can come in at 22 with a grown man body, full college experience. I'd recruit you for
Yeah.
4 to 5 years as opposed to a junior coming out, because if you spent 3 years in college, uh, grown man stuff and lifting and competing, grown man stuff, you ain't no junior in high school gonna touch you, right? So now you're coming in more ready, so you have more of an opportunity, to your point, Max, to go the Division I route, and you're coming in with a AA. Heck, you might need a year and a half to complete your bachelor's. You get done two, you graduate from a four-year institution in two, and still get all that alumni status, go to another institution, get the master's, and go to another one, get your ding on PhD, and be on your way.
Yeah.
So I really do see like big pictures in all of this. I don't know if parents and younger folks like think about it like I do. As soon as it comes out, I already see it. I'm like, oh, boom, let's be innovative. Here's the deal. Here's what we're gonna do. And do we want to find a quote unquote sister junior college and then put an implant of staff there, and then we just build those kids, and then when they're ready, we just ship them right over. And boom, boom, boom. Like,
Yeah.
like
It's
you just think
crazy. You're
Well,
yeah, the real
gamifying it.
right.
and I
Hey,
don't think these problems aren't unique to wrestling. Like why I know with the transfers, I've heard Coach Dion talking like why would he recruit anything but the highest level blue chip kids to Colorado University when he can watch kids play college football and try and get them in the transfer portal?
hundred
Like,
percent, hundred
and
percent.
why take the risk on the high school kids? So this is impact. It's just the changing. It really is becoming like a minor league professional
Yeah,
sport,
and to
even in
both your
wrestling.
point, yeah, and you're recruiting a lot less of potential anymore. It's like I see you right now. you know,
It's crazy too, though, because like I mean, I've even seen something which would be an extreme case, but you could get 11 years with playing with red shirts, going to JUCO first, going to a 4 year to school. You got an Olympic red shirt, a normal red shirt. Like you want to start playing the Rob Cole gray shirt, like anything you want to do. Like, but it's kind of like it's just become a different game where it's like you got to focus on fundraising, you got to focus on all these different things. Like 20 years ago, it's like, hey, you got to coach wrestling and be able to get some kids to come to your school. Now it's like, I mean, you got an academic school that keeps you a little insulated where you're like, hey, you got this degree that's worth some money. It's like, or you can just throw them a bunch of money and be like, hey, we're going to guarantee no matter what happens the next few years with, the collective bargaining agreement, we'll be able to pay for your school. and get something on top of that if stuff goes the right way. Like it's interesting, and it does. I mean, got to keep on your toes. Hopefully, it's good for wrestling. I'm a little pessimistic about it,
Well,
just thinking it's going to be tough for
yeah,
like
yeah.
not a huge revenue sport. But there's innovators like yourself,
Well,
like
and
UNC guys.
I thought the same thing too, Ryan. But then you have kids, I mean, getting 500,000 plus in NIL
Yeah,
payments in the sport of wrestling, which that's a good thing for the sport of wrestling. And I do think wrestling is a unique sport because at some schools it's really not a revenue generator, and at other schools it's a significant revenue generator, like the Big Ten. A lot of the Big Ten, Lehigh, where I went to school, it's the single largest revenue generator.
yeah.
So I mean, it's a unique sport. I think like you could, I I'll choose to be glass half full with Enoch, but it is like in my pit, on my stomach, and like those are some concerns as
My
well for
my
sure.
my problem is I don't think it's going to change much. The top 10 or 15 teams. It's the lower
Mm-hmm.
25% that they're all gonna get cut. Because even if you develop a kid, you're gonna like NDSU had 17 guys in the transfer portal. It's like what if you go there and then you go an All-American and then someone offers you $500,000, you're gone. So how do you invest in that when they keep leaving? So I mean, I
But
think
I think that's it at any sport right now, right? Because then
yeah,
Enoch, I'd love to hear your opinion on this because I think that we have a little bit of a two-headed monster with NIL, which is the Wild West. You can write kids checks for any reason. And then you have unlimited transfers with no penalties. So
yeah,
essentially, we have an unlimited free agency system in every sport.
There you go.
So you're going to see in same thing in football as well. Like the good kids that go to South Dakota State or Colorado State are going to end up somewhere. So it's just going to be a consolidation of all the good kids in the top 10% of programs every sport.
Yeah, it changes the game. Exactly what you were saying, Max. To your point, it's free agency every year, but more so every 6 months. To be real with you,
Yeah.
um, and again, but to your point, Ryan, it's not just schools like NDSU, us too, right? And you saw it at Stanford too. Like it doesn't matter where the heck you are, man. As soon as you accomplish something, you're gonna want to test that market and know
sharks are
what
circling.
yeah what other people will offer you.
Yeah,
And it's no longer enough to just think, oh, I have a great relationship with this XYZ person, they won't do whatever to me. And I've learned that, again, very right away, I feel like I've always had fast resolutions with things. It's like, a lot of coaches take this stuff personal, like, oh, so and so, I thought we had a better relationship, blah 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 blah. It's just like, man, like I'm me being human. You mean to tell me if somebody came over to me and offered me a $1 million raise, I'm not gonna leave these kids?
yeah, absolutely. I get it.
And
Yeah,
these kids, I'd expect them to understand that. Like, yo, man, I got $1 million. This is gonna change my whole life. Like, I can't,
yeah,
yo, like I still love you, but I got the
Yeah.
right. So and a lot of times if these kids come up with something and they're like, "Well, coach, here's what's happening," I'm like, "Man, I appreciate the transparency of you talking to me about it to see if I can even compete or help you with it. But if I can't, man, I'm gonna pat you on the back and say, appreciate you. Thanks for the time. Go be great." And a
yeah,
lot of times I'll let them know, like, you need any support with anything, any guidance, let me know, bro. I'm still here for you because at the end of the day, we're in this business to help people, literally. So then it's like, oh, so now I have animosity against you because a situation worked out better for you somewhere else and you felt great with that. Like, you're still gonna make a grown up
Yeah.
decision, whether you end up regretting it or not. That's between you and you. But I'm gonna do everything in my power to help you make the right decision. And then if we disagreed on it, that's one thing. But but we still move forward. And then that's where like I gotta get on the swivel as a coach too, right? And like, hey, it's just like hiring, firing, whatever in any organization. There's gonna be turnover. So who do I got coming in to replace you? Who have I been looking at? What like I gotta fill the holes
yeah,
as the holes being made. I gotta fill them. I gotta spot mop. I gotta keep this thing together. So again, man, it's just being innovative, being creative, not withholding, withstanding animosity against people. As I say, Ryan, good vibes only, man. We
Good vibes only.
we help people, we keep it moving, and we do what we got to do. So, whether we got hit with it or somebody, offered our kid more than whatever, and or it happened the other way around. It's just like, that cycle, it just goes around, man, and you deal with it as it comes, and you do what you got to do. So I'll never be one of those coaches where something happened to us and I'm getting on social media, so and so didn't do blah blah blah. Like, man, stop crying. Hey, hey, let's get with it, man. Let's get with it and do what we do and go be great. Let's just figure it out. So that's the landscape we're in, and that's been the game. So we're there to play, we're there to win, and we do what we got to do.
What
I think
are
it's
some of the
cool.
like positive strategies you employ to try and mitigate losing kids? And like, you guys are up and coming. You just had some big wins. You guys are obviously having success at University of North Carolina. Like, what are some of the things you guys do besides just raising funds to pay
Well,
good NIL payments? Like, what are you
yeah.
guys doing outside of that?
Well, Max, it's no secret, and Ryan can speak to that. We've worked together, and he understands my mindset. He understands Coach Cole's mindset. It's a big culture thing, called culture, camaraderie, and trust, right? So it the one of the bigger things in any organization, and from athletics, I treat it just like any big organization that you're empowered to lead. It becomes about relationships and trust, and how you feel every day coming into work. And so, I generally make it a point. We check in on our athletes. I keep an open door policy. They come in and out of the practice room. You shake their hands. You hug them. You ask them how they're feeling. Consistent check-ins. Sit down, talk to them about life, talk to them about relationships. Like, and it's never like a sit down, like, long conversation either. So I was walking about, like, hey man, how you and your wife doing, man? Y'all holding up? And mind you, them kids not married. They just told me they had a girlfriend like 2 weeks ago. Like, man, coach, that's not my wife. Coach, you crazy. That's not my wife. I'm like, man, she might as well be what y'all dating for 2 months. you know? So it's just like lighthearted, fun conversations. But sometimes if they were struggling, it just leads to something deeper, and you kind of meet it there, and so you consistently keep a pulse on things. You have those team activities, and you hold them accountable for, whether they're fun activities or dining out as a group, whatever it is. You promote those things, and the more you build that culture, that community, those relationships, people stay around for. It's just like you see these fraternities, and then these are like life fraternity brothers. Like, all this stuff is just like, it's all about camaraderie, trust, relationships, and understanding. Like, dang man, these dudes always gonna have my back. Like, this is always. So when that factors in a lot, you don't have a lot of turnover. Realistically, you don't. And sometimes the dudes, somebody was being offered $200,000 will stay for you for $100,000. So they're like, man, like, this means a lot more to me than XYZ, right? So it's just a matter of building those. I've been in organizations where people are grossly underpaid, man, grossly underpaid. But you know what keeps them around? Oh, my freaking boss, man. Like, every other week, they bring me a card and let me know how much they appreciate me. They write this down. Heck, it's a 5 minute effort, bro. It didn't take nothing but 5 minutes. But this person worked for me this year for $50,000 less than this other company was paying them, because I just took 5 minutes every other week to write down a dang card to acknowledge their effort and their work and let them know they're appreciated. Like, those are the little things that work in the human mind and human chemistry that just allows people to stick around. So I think, aside with, the fundraising, the boosters, and doing all these things, that relationship aspect it's big. It's always going to be big, and that'll never go away.
I think that's such a good point. And like, just working with Enoch, like I know that he truly, like, he said that, but he like truly lives it, believes it. Like, he has such a good pulse on the team. Like, guys come in and he'll be the first one at practice. Like, where's so and so? What's this? What's going on here? Like, make sure you check in with this guy. This is going on. And so, I mean, Enoch would drop everything after practice. It's 6:30. He's been there since 6:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. And he's like, I got a bunch of work, but some kid comes in the office in basically tears, and Enoch will sit there for 2 hours and talk to him and then get his work done. Like, I think that's such an underrated part of culture. And I think, Enoch, you do a great job of fostering that. I think the other thing too, Max, kind of on your question outside of culture, I wonder if coaches will start like kind of structuring these NIL payments where it's like, hey, you get this in 4 years once you graduate. So if you leave, it's null and void. You don't get the money.
That
And
so I think they already do that. But if someone else is willing to offer you more,
but it ups
then
the
you're
ante.
done.
Like, I mean, you got to basically pay double on top of it because you got to buy out their
100%.
contract and do this. So it's insulated, but I don't think you ever
Yeah.
fully get rid of it. The other thing is, man, like honestly, um, it is an issue, like poaching guys and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, you can only have 10 starters. It's not like you're going to buy more than one guy at each weight. So it's like, it really depends on how much you're worth, kind of depends on if the deep pocket teams have a need at that weight and if you can fill that need. But it is interesting. Like you talk about alumni relationships, what kind of job opportunities you could have after, like relationships with your coaches and how well you're going to perform because you're in a positive environment. And then obviously money comes into it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, and I do think what a lot, and hopefully kids are considering this, and Enoch, I'm sure you talk about this with your athletes, but an NIL payment is great, but obviously your degree is worth a lot more over the course of your lifetime, especially from an institution like UNC Chapel Hill or Stanford. So those are things that are going on your side, and I think you're right, Enoch, and you heard it from Dr. E. Culture is a great equalizer to
Great
NIL.
equalizer. Yep.
Hey, can we talk about your education, man? I mean, I think it's such a backbone of a lot of the processes you put in place and the way you think about stuff. And then also, obviously, super important to you, just knowing you, making sure kids are going to class on the wrestling team always. And then also, like, obviously, you're highly educated, got your PhD, master's program, or master's degree. Like, what made that important to you? Why'd you decide that was so important? And how do you continue to instill that in as you lead young men going forward?
Well, great question. I think it's a bit of a loaded one. So, because I'd say in high school, on National Honor Society, great academics and things like that. And being from a minority household where both parents are working a whole lot, so there was not a lot of support with, parents watching me compete or checking my academics or things like that. So I was generally more always on my own with that stuff and figuring things out. Um, so then you fast forward, to college, where in high school, at least my coaches make sure they checked in on stuff and things like that. You get to college, certain things weren't, certain safeguards weren't existent. Where I got to college and it was like, I'm my own person, and that was it. Like I had strength coaches or whatever, training schedule, stuff like that from an athletic standpoint. And then I had my academics, right? And I didn't do a great job compartmentalizing that right away. So, some of the resources where, you see at some of the Ivies or Stanford or UNC, like where it's like, dang, man, these kids got iPhones with a million apps on it, right? They have, these apps are just supports and their academic worlds where they get every support they need. Whereas when I went to school, some of these NIL institutions, like there's none of that. And so I come in and I'm like, I'm here to wrestle. Like if anybody asked me what I was doing, like I'm here, I'm just here to wrestle. So I was an athlete. Like that's what I'm doing. And before I knew it, I lost a lot of academic scholarships, and I had a 1.8 GPA, like stuff like that, where it was just like, then the advisor spoke to me. It's like, well, yeah, you're not gonna be an athlete much longer. You can't get over X, Y, Z. And I said, that's when it dawned on me, to be honest with you. Like, oh, I got it. I got to go to these classes and do stuff. All right, bet. So now, from first semester, I was always digging myself out of a hole, because it was just that bad of a start. Where, and then I transferred to Cal Baptist to finish off my last 2 years and really honed in and picked things up out there in California. Graduated my last 2 years with with a 3.5 overall GPA there, and then started completed my master's program as a grad assistant. Completed that with a 3.8, and once I started, because then I trained and coached a lot. I was doing a lot of things at the same time, and I I left Army West Point at the time and went to Cornell University with Rob Cole, and I was training with their RTC and coaching the club and doing a lot of stuff with those athletes. While at the same time, I started teaching K-12, um, and at the same time, I started working on my PhD program, and training and traveling with Team USA, where you're pursuing trying to make an Olympic team while you're teaching, while you're training, while you're coaching, and those filled up my days. My days would start at 5 a.m. and end at 11 p.m. Between PhD courses and all that stuff. But I graduated with something like a 3.9 something with my PhD, where it's like I started with a undergrad getting no dang on 1.8. Whether finishing a PhD with 3.9. So it's just more evolving and understanding how to balance and compartmentalize things in life, which gets you to a point. And, from my background, my upbringing with my father's a pastor, my parents are very heavily in the ministry. I was just always been about servant leadership. But at the same time, I found it to be a little bit of a struggle to find my niche, right? Like, I know I didn't want to serve like ministry the way they did. I didn't want to go into missions to do those things. So then you had to reevaluate life and think about what ministry would look like for me. Whether that was overseeing an educational organization, whether that's coaching, whether, what aspect of it, how can I still help others? Is that working in the hospital and hospice care? Like, what does that look like for me? And I had a little bit of a hard time trying to understand what my calling was in that facet. But then you come to find out, it's like, man, ministry can, as I was explaining, can look different in a lot of ways. Servant leadership is a thing. You can live out your ministry that way when you redirect your thoughts. So then to answer your question now, right, to where I am now, and serving these student athletes and staying on top of all those other things. I think those are what keeps that culture intact, keep those kids on the mat doing what they love, and all these other things, like reviewing film, getting on the mat, going to tournaments, sitting in a chair coaching, like, and after Ryan and I have that conversation, that's a fun part, man. That it gets you giddy and laughing and stuff like that. So I'm just more apt to, if other guys want to sit in a corner coach, I'm more apt to go sitting on the bench, man, and watching with the fans, like, because my whole thing is like, the stuff here, whether I'm this morning emailing 10 potential student athletes and texting all of them to make sure they're doing certain things with admissions, doing certain things with their grades, getting transferred. Like, those are the things that keep the wheels turning, to get them here and then get them connected with the right advisors, get them supported, making sure they're succeeding at life off the mat, because that alleviates a lot of stress and it clears their mentals to do what they need to do on the mat, to where we can have quote unquote fun doing what we do. So, like, all those things that you wouldn't necessarily think a coach does or look into, like, I'll sit back, like, and we'll do all that on repeat, because I'm like, I enjoy that. It's like, you know being a dang FBI secret agent behind the scenes, man. You're just getting all this stuff done, and everybody, like, some people see you and they, hey, what do you do here? And I always say, I don't do much, man. I just hang out. Uh, because it's
That's
like,
awesome.
why take the time to, like, explain all this stuff, right? Like, nah, just put your notes out and go do it. It is what it is, and it's one of those things that's not really spoken of or spoken about, but you grind and you do it, and you watch these guys flourish and you see their successes, and it makes it all worth it. So it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's so cool, and especially, I don't know. I think a lot of people, the people that are best in their professions are the ones that felt like they needed what they're doing growing up. And it sounds like for you, it's like guiding young men in their education, in their sport, and continuing to grow them into like good leaders. It's really cool because it's something that you found on your own. But like, man, if there was an Enoch, raise an Enoch, like it would have been really cool, So and it really shines through with what you do. So that's awesome, man. I think that's such a special thing. And it's kind of cool. Your passions of education and wrestling, you're in like the perfect profession for what you enjoy and where you want to spend your time to like have that servant leadership.
For sure.
But so one last thing.
Yeah.
Well, couple more things, but like, what's your current training like? I want to talk about what's your push-up number. Are you finally going to give the people what they want? If you know Enoch,
Oh.
you'll be in a hotel room at a tournament, and it'll be 5 o'clock in the morning. You don't have to be up till 8:30, and Enoch's freaking alarm goes off. He starts blasting Jesus music and starts ripping push-ups, and you're like, I'm trying to sleep, man. What are you doing? He's like, can't miss a day.
Man, it's so funny. It's funny you brought that up. I was so I had a situation, man, over Christmas where I had a very early flight on the 28th to get back to training with these guys. And I'm in Naples at my sister's, and I it's a 5 a.m. flight, and I had my alarm. I guess I just didn't set the alarm for 3, and her husband wakes me up at 4, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to miss the flight. So I just grab my bag and we jet to the airport, and I check in, and I'm like, oh, I got 15 minutes before the flight. So I'm like literally running around looking for a corner because I can't miss my push up. So I'm in the corner of the dang terminal doing that, people looking at me weird. I'm like, it is what it is, man. I got no shame in the
You got
game.
it done. Yeah.
No,
No
he's
shame.
got this consistency, man. His number was like 250, but he won't tell you because it goes up 10 every month or something. I think he's at 300, but
Well,
I don't know. He's pretty quiet about the number he does every day, but I gotta say, he's
It's a
about it. He
lot.
doesn't miss it.
I don't miss it. And you know what? It's probably one of the healthier habits I've picked up over the last 10 plus years, where you just do that every day and not miss a day. Because, and Ryan, like, to your point, you've done it with me. Hey, and Max, don't let him fool you. So this dude Ryan is just so dang competitive, and I swear, like, I'm like, I just roll my eyes at him because he'll irritate me about it. Because I'll get up, it's something I do for me. It's a personal endeavor, Max. This is I don't tell nobody they got to do nothing. And this dude hears me. He hears me do it. He literally jumps out of bed like his alarm went off, and then gets down there and starts ripping push-ups. And then he just, and I'm always set on my number. Like, I don't let anybody sway anything. So he knows I'm competitive. So he just rips and just keeps going. It's like, yeah, how you feel about me lapping you today? I'm so far ahead of you. My count was so much fun. I'm like, bro, like, that's your personal journey, man. I'm on my alchemist thing right now, man. I'm living my own personal journey. You do, I was like,
That's
you
funny.
go be great. I love that for you. It's just always, so he's hilarious with that, man. But it's pretty cool. So it depends whichever coach I'm rooming with or anything like that on a trip. They more often than not they'll hear it and they'll get up and just do push-ups too. I don't know if it's guilt. I don't know what it is, but they're just like, all right,
Kill push-ups.
if he's doing it, I might as well get.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I think it's pretty cool too, like just the consistency aspect, but like it's also just not your workout. That's like your baseline. Wake up, I do this, I sleep, I eat, I breathe, I do push-ups.
Yeah.
But then you are also like you're wrestling a couple times a day with individuals, practice, you're hitting lifts, you're getting in the weight room. So yeah, what keeps you motivated to keep doing that, and how long do you think you'll continue to do that?
Man, I'd say as long as I can walk, brother. The biggest thing is, with our guys, and you're the same way, Ryan and Max. Yeah, I'm sure you're the same when it comes to athletics and coaching or anything I'm doing in leadership. I always tell people, and including our guys, I'm like, man, look, guys, I wouldn't have you do anything or say anything for you to do, for it to not be in your best interest, or for me not wanting to do it as well, right? So, whatever we do, I'm like, look, guys, I'll put you through some. I'll do it with you. I'll do it too, just to show you, right? Because what they want to do is sometimes they like to complain about stuff. Oh, this is so long. This is. I'm like, dude, look, if I'll get up and do this thing too, man. So, like, I don't want to hear it, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
sometimes,
awesome.
but when they see it, when they see that and they know that, they're like, all right, man, I ain't gonna say nothing. Coach out here grinding with me. I ain't gonna do it, right? So I think it does go a long way, and in a sense, not that we have to do that anymore because we are getting older. But it's just like, in a sense, when they see you do it every once in a while, they're like, yeah, coach to drop down and do this. Like I can do that. Like if coach is gonna humble himself and pick up some trash, I'll do it. If coach is gonna humble himself and mop the dang mats, I'll do it. If coach is right, so then if coach is gonna do laundry, I'll do it. So it's like they see it, and you're not above anything, and you're gonna lead the right way. I think it just influences them in the right way to constantly be a model or an example of how to go about handling business, right? And you pointed this out, Ryan. You were like, man, did you dress up for this podcast? But it's just one of those things we talk to the guys about. And I wish earlier in college people had those conversations with me. Like, what appearance do you have when you're showing up to class in the morning? Like, how are you looking? Like, why are you coming in these faded hoodies and sweatpants and Crocs? Like, you look like crap, dude. Like, you rolled out of bed and went over there.
Yeah.
Like, you for you, you're like, well, I showed up. I was on time. Well, no, man. Like, you didn't say anything to that person, but if I'm a professor, I look at you, I'm like, dang man, they could probably think about, well, he don't really respect XYZ enough to come in and have a certain appearance. And you don't know what your relationship could be like with that professor, or how can they be enticed to write you letters of recommendation or help you. Like, all those things speak volume later on when you actually do need something. What the hell are they going to write about you? I'd rather somebody write about me. Well, I showed up on time. They showed up on time. They were sharp. They were clean. They blah, blah, blah. Like, they consistent model of example. It's like, what do you want that to look like? And it's just like, again, even deeper perspective. What do you want your life to look like, man? You passed away and they write a dang obituary about you. Like, what do you want these people saying?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those
Yeah.
things. It's like, you try to think about it big picture. Yeah, we have some faux pas at times, and we let our guard down and we slip up, whatever. But like, just recover. Try to do a little bit better each day. So, you try to get a full picture of what it should look like and lead by example that way. And that's about it.
One of my favorite quotes is, how you do one thing is how you do anything. And it
Uh-huh.
seems like you embody that, and you lead that way too, which is awesome. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
true.
I'm out here trying, Max. I gotta keep lapping Ryan. That's one of those things that keep me motivated, dude. Hey, he
Me
probably he
too.
probably gonna he probably gonna wake up early tomorrow morning with Chloe and make her hike some mountains with him just to let me know. But hey, but I try to stay consistent too, man. It's good to to your point too. Actually, like you have great people in your life. Um and it's another quote, right? Like you are who you surround yourself with, type of thing. Ryan's a guy who's you know, younger than me, and I've told him to this day, like, he's made a great impact on my life, I mean, my personal life, just the way he responds to everything, and whether it's criticism, whether it's his grind, whether it's like just everything, and the type of human he is, and the time he gives to other people, and the willingness to grow, and the accountability aspect. It's like those are things that, when you keep people like that around you in your circle, in your life, it just motivates you to keep doing better too, to keep growing, to stay on your path, because they're always going to check in and look back at what you're doing. You check in, look back at what they're doing. It's whether you speak about it or not, you see it, and it's always some sort of a little bit of a drive and competition going, where that whether it inspires you to do more, motivates you to do more, whatever it is. But it's just the company you keep, and I
For
think
sure.
that's a good constant for us.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I think right back at you on all that stuff. You're probably the like only person that I've ever met that has the most like genuine joy for life. Like, you're a grinder for everything. You're working hard when you need to. You get everything done, but also like it is such a joy being around you, because you just like find joy in all the little stuff in life, which is really, I don't know, really cool, really positive. And I think it's something that we could all use more of. And I don't know, man, it's a sweet quality. And I think that that's what makes people drawn to you. And then you still get your stuff done. Cause I think it's really hard for people to play that balance of like work really hard and then also like enjoy stuff and have a positive attitude about everything. And,
Yep.
I don't know, man. I love it. So thanks for coming on, brother. This was sweet. It was great talking to you. We'll have to do a follow up sometime, and make sure you guys get your push ups in after. We got to catch
No
Dr.
doubt.
E.
Hey, I appreciate
For
you guys
sure.
having me, Max. You're awesome, man, and truly excited for you and baby girl. Hey,
Thank you.
hey, listen. I'm gonna pray for you for 2 more girls, because then you get your 3 girls, and pray for me. I have my 3 boys, then we're gonna even things out in the world,
But
and
Enoch,
that's what we want. Max, we
your
want that.
shirt today is saying you're gonna have some
TMP.
girls. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Max, look, you made me stutter. Listen here, Max. I'm not doing a baby reveal. This not a baby
Yeah,
reveal.
this is a gender. This is
Yeah.
a future gender
Nah,
reveal,
no,
everyone.
we're not. No, that's not what we're doing right now.
E.
That's crazy. I can't
Hey,
believe you said
hey,
about my.
we'll have you out sometime. You come out to Colorado. We'll all get a workout and we'll have a good time, and you guys can settle this.
And we're
Yeah,
gonna
for
do it.
sure.
We're gonna do it. All right, guys.
Yeah,
See
man.
ya.
E. Thanks.
All right,
Thank you.
later.